Welcome to Sound Up, your direct connection to everything going on in the world of music. Mark Goodman here.
And I'm Alan Light. Now, if you're already a fan of the show, you know the drill. But if you're new here, here's how the Sound Up podcast works.
We do 2 shows each week, one on Tuesday, one on Friday. Both feature up-to-the-minute news, special guests, and whatever you need to know about what's going on in music.
On our second show, like this one, it's Sound Up, Sound Off, where we welcome you to join the show, whether as part of our virtual audience or through voice messages and email. Find out all about it at sounduppod.com.
All right, are you ready to sound off? Let's get to it.
This is Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light, the only music podcast that matters.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sound Up. I'm Alan Light.
And I'm producer Roger Coletti, in for Mark Goodman, who is right now on the high seas as part of the 80s cruise. Mark will have a full report from that on our next episode, but today it is our Sound Up, Sound Off, where you, the audience, get to join in. So welcome to our Sound Up Pod Squad.
Pod Squad.
That's what we're calling them now.
Peggy Lipton and Link.
That's the Mod Squad, Alan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll keep it straight. We've got a lot going on today. We've got a very packed show. Rick Allen from Def Leppard and his wife, singer-songwriter Lauren Monroe, will be joining us later on to talk about an amazing benefit event they are hosting for their Raven Drum Foundation, featuring a fantastic all-star list of drummers. Roger Coletti cannot wait.
Oh, my God.
When we talk about dream shows, that's a dream show.
Is.
Plus, we've got news on a special performance coming up by the boss. Not Roger, not that boss. Bruce Springsteen. And we will be asking our audience, what is your dream concert? Which artist at which venue? Maybe which opener? What's the show you would drop everything to make sure you go and see?
Yeah, we have a packed show tonight. We have a live audience. But right now, before we get to all of that, there was some big news this week in the Don Henley lyrics case that me and you have kind of been obsessed about, I think, a bit.
So there was some breaking and unexpected developments out of the Hotel California lyrics trial, which we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Things took a dramatic turn in the courtroom, and David Browne from Rolling Stone has been covering this trial all the way through, has been in the courtroom. David, thanks for jumping on today, and tell me what went down today.
Well, what went down basically today was that the charges against the 3 defendants who were accused of conspiring to sell stolen handwritten Eagles lyrics were dropped by the DA's office, and then that was kind of approved more or less by the judge in the case. It was a pretty dramatic development that seemed to snowball just over the last 2-3 days here. The trial started 2 weeks ago today, actually. It seemed to be kind of moving along. There was a list of witnesses, and then things got even more complicated.
So I guess reading your story and getting the basics on it, that there was some big drop of documents that sort of rewrote the case. Yeah.
Right. The Henley team had evoked attorney-client privilege early on, saying that we have these documents, but they're confidential between us and the attorneys, and that can happen in a law case. And then they decided that they changed their mind and decided to unleash all this stuff. And starting over the weekend, and then for a couple of days after that, something like several thousand pages with hundreds of emails and chains were suddenly dropped onto the defense team to look through. And they made great hay over this. The defense lawyers saying that there was material, and these were emails dating back to 2012 between Don Henley, his manager of Irving Azoff, and some of their lawyers discussing the ownership of these papers and what they should do about it, and all sorts of things with auction houses. And we didn't get to see all that. We only got to see a tiny portion of that. And then they handed them over to everybody in several different batches. And the first batch last weekend was, I think, a couple thousand pages and several hundred email chains. And the defense lawyers basically said, we've never seen anything like this dumped on us at the last minute. It is halfway not halfway, but it was a week and a half into a trial. Usually all that stuff is brought up beforehand so that everybody can take the time to sit down and go through it. The defense lawyers were particularly irked or made a point of the fact that people like Henley and Azoff had already testified and were not there anymore. And so when they were on the stand, they weren't able to be asked about any of the information in the new documents. So the judge did not seem happy about any of this. He didn't seem happy about lawyers on both sides. I remember at one point he said to one of the defense lawyers, because you have to speak into a microphone, he said, "Do you have an aversion to microphones?" When he was going off mic. But the judge seemed immediately concerned or took note of this request for a dismissal of the case, which was on Monday, which again, seemed to come out of the blue. And then yesterday, Tuesday, there were several thousand more pages, and there wasn't even a full day in court. The judge was like, "Okay, we're going to take a long break. Come back to Wednesday."
I'm no lawyer. I am the farthest thing. But any of us from watching stupid courtroom dramas on TV,
you're a Matlock guy, Alan, right?
You kind of have to give your evidence, give a sense up front of what evidence you're presenting. This is not some particularly arcane thing to say partway through the trial, you can't all of a sudden say, here's thousands of pages of relevant documents and deal with it on the fly.
Right. And there was some discussion of, well, let's take some time to go through all of these. And the defense had already pulled a bunch out. I don't know the exact number, but they wanted to cross-examine or bring them up and discuss them. God knows how long that would have added to the trial. I think that at one point the judge made some comment to the prosecution, like, well, what about the court?
Do you feel like these documents would not have come out if they felt the trial was going their way? Or was this like an ace in the hole? Like, if we feel this is not going well, we're going to release these?
It's a little too soon to say about that because the other side isn't really commenting much.
Mm-hmm.
The judge did say that he felt that they were, I get the exact words, kind of hiding them intentionally or something along those lines. And he wasn't happy about that. Again, it's hard to say since we didn't really see much of what was in it yet before the case was dismissed to see the exact examples of what they were talking about. But I think the judge, when it was all said and done, slapped the wrists of the prosecutors and said they were, manipulated by the Henley team and things like that. And what was interesting is when those documents first came out, the prosecutors didn't know about them either. They were equally taken aback. It's not like, so they weren't like, "Oh yeah, we know about this stuff too, and we didn't tell you, Judge." They were like,
"We just found out about this."
I'm paraphrasing. They were like, "What? Wait, what?" Yeah, it was kind of a wild turn of events. And because, for a while there, it was hard to say which way it was going to go. There was still a long list of witnesses that they could have called.
So that's it. Case dismissed. We're done? Because I know Henley made a comment saying, "I'm still the victim here and I'm still going to fight." Is he starting this back up again, in some other form? Or do you think that's it? The door's closed?
His lawyer told us that, they're considering a civil suit. This was a criminal suit, which was another puzzling aspect of it. Cases like this normally are civil cases. This was a criminal one with up to 4 years in prison for guys who were just trying to sell allegedly stolen handwritten lyrics to New Kid in Town and Life in the Fast Lane. Seems a bit extreme to me. I'm not a lawyer either. But yeah, it's hard to say right now. I mean, they're making indications that they might take it to a civil case.
Man, I would love to know. I mean, I have to assume Don Henley and Irving Azoff and this team can literally afford any lawyers in the world for their case. These are not minor leaguers who are taking a case for these kind of clients. So for them to get blindsided like this in the middle of a trial and be left holding the bag, that's got to be a mess too.
We should make a distinction that these lawyers, these were from the district attorney's office in New York, the Alvin Bragg office. So these weren't Henley's and specific lawyers. It was the people, the way the people are putting Donald Trump on trial or whatever. But again, they are also pros. And so, I don't know what it was, lack of communication or what that went on there was quite amazing. And it was an interesting other sidebar of lawyers is, and Alan, you might know this too, of course you know this, is Stacey Richmond was representing one of the defendants, Craig Inciardi, and she, of course, is the daughter of Don't Worry Murray.
Right. Murray Richmond, the hip-hop attorney for every case you can think of.
Exactly.
I know you don't have an answer for this because I know this remains the most mysterious part of this, but still no charges, no statement, nothing from Ed Sanders, from the writer who's sort of the linchpin of this case.
That is a question I've asked everybody. There have been several questions lingering over this. One is, why is it a criminal case and not a civil? It wasn't a murder. And the other was, why was Ed Sanders not charged? And why were simply the guys who bought the materials from him and then were trying to sell it, where they were charged? And, you get all kinds of different theories. And I think maybe now that it's over, and we're hoping the DA's office will be a little more forthcoming about that, because there's speculation of, was it statute of limitations? Was it this or that? I don't know the answer to that. But I asked the defense lawyers about that, and they didn't know, which was bizarre to me.
And I guess there was a statement, I don't know if it was from Craig or in general from the defendants, basically saying now comes the process of sort of rebuilding our reputations. Is your sense, for as far as this got, that this did, irretrievable damage to these guys? Or do you think at this point it's so weird that everybody can kind of throw up their hands and walk away from it?
Yeah, I don't know about irretrievable damage because of the way it was dismissed like that. I think they could easily say, their argument all along was, yes, we were selling these things. We didn't know they were stolen. We didn't know there was this contract in 1979 between the Eagles and Ed Sanders about the possession of these. We bought them free and clear from this guy. He said it was more or less okay, maybe. So that's their position, has always been like, we didn't do anything wrong. And so I think now they can, they might be able to kind of, skip by with that in the way that the charges were just dismissed like that. I'll
say the whole thing, weird at the beginning, weird at the end, unsatisfying in every way. I'm sure for you trying to cover this thing, it's got to be a little bit frustrating to say, okay, and then we walk away and who the hell's ever going to know?
Yeah. It was a fascinating thing to witness. Most of the days, I was there most days, and, boy, you really see the tedium of the court cases when, there'll be an hour devoted to one sentence in an email, and it's like parsing every word and everything like that. And there was some amusing moments here, and there was the dramatic moment when Henley had to talk about what happened in 1980 that came out. And so, there were all kinds of sideshows, as they put it, to it. But yeah, I mean, it was a bizarre case from the start, and it ended in an equally bizarre note.
So do the defendants now still retain ownership of those lyrics, and are they free to sell them?
That is being discussed right now, I hear. Yes, because they, I think the documents are all in the DA's office, who confiscated everything. So I think that haggling is going on right now.
Might raise the price. might make it an even hotter item.
And to think, Henley was offered to buy these in 2016 for $90,000 after they'd been up for a couple other auctions, and he just decided, no, I'm being extorted. They wanted this much money the first time, this much money for other things. Now they want $90,000, and it was some kind of pride thing. Like, no, I'm not. Right. I'm not going to do it. And, if he'd forked that over, then, who knows? We would have avoided all this. But I think it was a pride thing for him, I guess. Not to speak for him. I haven't spoken to him, but it seems that way.
Our thanks to David Browne from Rolling Stone for making some time on a very busy day to help get us up to speed. And we've got another news story we want to talk about, and then we want to bring in our audience to talk about it some more with us. We just heard news the other day that Bruce Springsteen is coming to the Jersey Shore. Maybe that doesn't sound like such news. He's there all the time. But what he has not done for a long time is play an actual announced official show in Asbury Park. It has been more than 20 years. He'll show up and jump on stage at the Stone Pony. There'll be rumors, there'll be sightings, but it was announced that in September, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band will be headlining the Sea.Hear.Now festival on the beach in Asbury on September 15th. This festival that's been going on for a few years. Our friend Danny Clinch rock and roll photographer and man about town,
Musician,
is sort of the organizer behind putting this thing together. And Sea.Hear.Now will kick off on September 14th with Noah Kahn headlining, along with the Black Crowes, the Revivalists, Peaches, and Robert Randolph. September 15th, there'll be the Gaslight Anthem, Trey Anastasio Band, Norah Jones, Joya Latakun, and Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band headlining, playing the beach in Asbury Park.
First of all, how big is this venue? Do you remember? Because this is going to be the biggest crowd by far they've ever had.
It's not like a festival. It's not like an 80,000 festival space. It's on the beach. It's a contained thing. But immediately when this got announced, I started seeing the Springsteen friends like, this is the one you don't miss.
Right.
And he's touring a bunch. He's going to be in Philly on August 21st and 23rd. There's a bunch of shows that were rescheduled from last year when there was a bunch of sickness going around and he had his peptic ulcer,
right,
or whatever it was that was happening where he couldn't sing. So there's other shows coming up, but this is a special one.
Yeah, and you got to think that this one is going to be a quite different set list, I would assume, from what he's doing on those dates previous and after this. I mean, he's in his backyard. They've seen him do the normal show. He always pulls out something special, and it could be special guests. It could be, songs he's not doing in this current tour, which is less of a grab bag than he's done in the past. It's more kind of sticks to the set list with a few audibles,
Yeah, we'll see what it is. We'll see how much it's about recognizing that's where he is. I will say years ago when I was in a particular Springsteen jag, I did make a point of going to see him play in Atlantic City. He was playing the convention hall there. And I was like, well, you got to go to that. So I drove down for that. And yes, he opened with Atlantic City. And yes, the place went insane.
Right.
And he said, I saw the Beatles in this venue. And then he played for, I think, the one and only time he's ever played it. He played Tell Me Why.
Wow.
Because he said, I saw the Beatles play this song on this stage and did that. And that was pretty wild. So
it would be kind of cool if he just did the whole Greetings from Asbury Park album.
Or one of his old sets, play, Paradise by the Sea and the Detroit cover and the medley and, do all the bar band stuff. It's easy to start fantasizing. In the chat here, Rita says she's been to Sea.Hear.Now a few times. If the Pearl Jam fans had it crazy packed, this is going to be insane. Bruce showed up once as a surprise guest during Social D's set. Yeah, he's bounced in and out of this, and he's friendly with Danny.
Yep.
And again, he, especially in the summertime, if he's not touring, he's around. So anyway, I didn't realize it had been more than 20 years since there was an actual announced show, but I'm not surprised when I see that.
Well, because you always hear that he popped up here. He played on at the Stone Pony. So he's such a fixture there. But yeah, an announced show that's billed as Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band in Asbury Park. Yeah, I guess it's been a long time.
So this is what got us thinking. And studio audience, this is where we want to throw to you guys. What would be that kind of a fantasy show for you? Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band at Asbury Park. Doesn't need a whole lot more explanation. Again, you go. If you're that kind of fan, you go.
Yep.
What's that show for you or your favorite band or a band that you love? And let's not go crazy, like something that could possibly realistically happen. Not, I want to see the Beatles at the Cavern Club. I would love to see the Beatles at the Cavern Club, but I am not a time traveler. That one's not going to happen.
Alan hates that kind of fantasy question stuff. You have to have a foot in reality when you answer this. It's got to be something that possibly could happen, whether it's a band reuniting or a band you haven't seen a lot or a band at a famous venue that they're connected to. That's kind of what we're looking for here.
Yeah, look, if it's that kind of a thing, it's that kind of a thing. But here, let's stay somewhere grounded in reality and see what you can. Roger, we were talking about it before. You got a couple thoughts?
We were talking about it before, and one of the ones that came to mind was, there's certain bands and certain venues that I feel have a connection, and one of them was seeing, REM at the 40 Watt Club. I mean, that was such an iconic club. For me as a journalist, when I started out reporting on that place and them coming up there and playing there, that it just seems like you're going to get a very different show from them in that venue than you would anywhere else.
And just to have the sight of those guys on that stage where that happened. I mean, when you get those, we've been lucky. Like I saw Patti Smith at CBGB, one of the last, before they closed. And it wasn't the same as seeing her there in 1975, but it was pretty awesome to say, okay, this was where this started for this person, and I'm actually seeing that. And that's what REM at 40 Watt is a
Right.
good answer to that.
There's others, but I think that's a good example of kind of what we're looking for. And, when REM's a band we talked about on the Mailbag show. So REM's just kind of top of mind these days.
We got an email from Maury D in Nashville saying on the topic of ultimate shows, I'm in the group praying the Talking Heads do a reunion. I'm super happy with no opener. Just recreate the set for Stop Making Sense and I'd be happy.
We went to go see the movie together. It's fantastic. It's a band I've never seen live. So for me, going to see the Talking Heads at any venue, I think would be amazing. But once again, like if CB's was still here, that would be pretty magical.
So how about if I say, I'd love to go see Taylor Swift on her Christmas tree farm?
That's your pick?
How about that?
You're insane. I can't believe that just came out of your mouth. I mean, I know you're obsessed with Taylor Swift, but to see her perform on her Christmas tree farm, that is your...
Come on. You don't think that would be a memorable...
Well, you definitely get that song. And you probably get a free tree.
And everybody gets a free tree.
Of all the bands that you know about and are obsessed with, from the Replacements, the Who, whatever.
Well, that's where we're here to mix it up. We got to get people thinking. So, audience, jump in. Let us know if you want to talk to us. I see there's a few things in the chat, but you had mentioned. Speak of Minneapolis. You had something.
Well, if you're going to talk opener, headliner, venue, I kind of went with I'd love to see Soul Asylum open for the Replacements at First Avenue. That to me would
totally
be
works.
And you had mentioned that, there was a show at one point where Prince is playing the big room at First Avenue and the Replacements are playing the little room. And I'm like, that is just mind-blowing.
There is one famous night when that happened. But that's a good one. Replacements at First Avenue. I mean, you're more a Soul Asylum guy than I am, but I get that. That works. But Replacements at First Avenue is
Replacements anywhere is great, but that place.
Replacements anywhere, but that's the place. And I, like you were saying, I went to when the Revolution got back together after Prince passed. The first shows they played were at First Avenue, and I did go to Minneapolis for that. That was one of those. I needed to be there with them and those fans for that, and that was amazing. There was something in the chat here that I gotta find. Somebody said Tom Waits at the House of Blues in Cleveland. Andy said that, wondering why specifically Cleveland, or is that just a hometown gig? Is that just where you're at? Waits, I feel like you want to say Tom Waits in like an auto parts scrapyard or something.
Just showing up at a Pet Boys.
With like weird stuff he could bang on and, feels like something.
All right, so we should take a break, and when we come back, we will find out what our audience thinks is their dream concert. Plus, we have our interview with Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe right here on Sound Up. We'll be right back.
It's your turn to sound off right here on Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light.
Welcome back. It's Sound Up. I'm Alan Light, and Mark Goodman is somewhere sailing the high seas on the 80s cruise, and we'll be back for our next show to fill us in on all the outrageousness.
He could be announcing Air Supply right now, or 38 Special, or Sebastian Bach. You don't know.
Or wearing a Breakfast Club costume.
Could be. The weird thing is, between him, our old friend Laurie Majewski, and Eddie Trunk, Eddie's on the Monsters of Rock cruise, which is going on at the same time. So I wonder if these boats kind of pass each other.
Passing the night.
Like, hey, look at those 80s
waving
people.
Pirate flags.
Exactly. It's a battle on the high seas. But getting back to our big topic, yep.
Yeah, we're talking about your fantasy show. Bruce Springsteen announced that the E Street Band will be playing the Sea.Hear.Now festival in Asbury Park, New Jersey. So there is now the possibility in September to go see Springsteen in Asbury Park, which is kind of a fantasy show in a lot of people's minds. Is there something like that for you? Do you have a favorite band at a particularly important venue for them, for you, that would be the show of your dreams? And I was saying, let this be something, not I want to see Prince and Jimi Hendrix at Paisley Park.
Right.
Like, we would love to see that, but let's keep it to something that might possibly still happen Reunions are okay. If everybody's there to do it, that's all right.
Right.
So in the chat here, Gretchen wrote, before Alan's stipulation, George Michael with Robbie Williams opening at Wembley. After the stipulation, Robbie Williams with Pink opening at Wembley and Rita as my date. She's got a whole travel plan worked out here. Our friend Janet in Detroit says, I am a big fan of Semisonic, who are from Minneapolis. I've been to First Avenue to see them, and that was extra special for sure. Foo Fighters at the 930 Club in DC, but it's already happened, and I've already been. It's a really good answer. Grohl representing for that DC punk thing in that room.
Yeah. Oh, you know, another one I was thinking of too is I've always wanted to do this, and hopefully I'm sure the opportunity will pop up again once they leave the sphere, but seeing U2 in Ireland would be the way to do it. You know, I've seen them a bunch of times in a bunch of different venues, but that's got to be a whole different level of U2. Our
man Joel writes, off the top of my head, Grand Funk Railroad with Mark Farner opening for Bob Seger at Pine Knob. That is some Detroit right there. And second, Steely Dan opening for Fleetwood Mac with Lindsey Buckingham at the Ryman. I'd go to that show. Rick says, I'd like to see the Smiths and the Cure opening for Blur and Oasis at the Hacienda.
When you talk about dream shows. Yeah,
practically
you're dreaming
festival.
a lot there, you know.
And the Smiths and the Cure would just be glowering at each other, and Blur and Oasis, Oasis would be fighting with each other.
Right.
Then might be fighting with Blur. It's unclear, but that'd be like a whole WrestleMania show.
Yeah, it would be like the angriest tour or festival ever, or mopiest, depending on how you look at it.
Andy, who had said Tom Waits at the House of Blues in Cleveland, says, I'm from Cleveland. Springsteen at the Agora with Southside opening would be banging too.
Yeah.
Tyler, my fantasy show. Here's two disparate answers. UFO, Strangers in the Night lineup in Chicago, or Dave Matthews Band at the Gorge in Washington. That dream might happen this summer. Crossing my fingers. I can go.
It's possible. Also, Eric says Aerosmith's final show on the Boston Common with Peter Wolf opening, or Jay Giles if he was still alive. But you could still kind of do the Jay Giles Band, I think. There's enough of them still around.
Cheryl Van Biohazard, I'll give my highly unlikely, but a slim possibility, Kate Bush at the Hammersmith.
That's possible.
It's possible.
She doesn't have to go too far for that one. She's not one to travel far to do a show.
She did that, whatever it was, 21 nights, that last set of shows, which is now whatever it is, 10 years ago. But as Timothy says, she doesn't have to fly for that one. No, she does not. And that was a show. And that's the thing, like people flew in from all around the world for those shows. Like that is the kind of thing that we're talking about, right?
Yep.
Timothy says, Porno for Pyros, Dinosaur Jr., PJ Harvey, live on the river downtown is fine for me. I don't know which river downtown. Once was called Nautica Stage. I don't know downtown where, but okay. Those are all touring.
Yep.
Porno for Pyros doing a farewell tour.
Right.
Dinosaur Jr. are out playing now. And PJ Harvey just announced dates for later in the year. We have another conversation here. And I did want to actually add, as we go to this conversation with Rick Allen from Def Leppard and Lauren Monroe, singer-songwriter, and Rick's wife, talking about this benefit that they're playing in New York City. Since we talked to them, they just announced, I think, 2 more of these benefits in California.
Oh, that's cool.
That will be coming, I think, in the fall or later in the year. Maybe it's on the other side of the Leppard Stadium dates. I'm not sure. But this is part of an ongoing, as you'll hear them talk about, an ongoing foundation effort that they have. So this is a super exciting one-off. But for those of you, if you're on the West Coast and thinking, man, that'd be fun to go to, apparently you will have the opportunity at some point later in the year to jump on for one of these shows.
And I got to say, there's a lot of benefits that happen in the music community, and you get a lot of musicians show up for them. You don't see a lot like this that bring drummers together, and this many drummers of note, So I'm sure when they do this in LA, it's going to have that LA drummer flavor as well. But this New York benefit, as a drummer and drummer fan, is really like a dream show. It really is. And we'll find out more about that.
Let's hear from Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe. Sound Up keeps rolling on. Welcome to Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light. I am the Alan Light part of that equation, and I am honored to be joined by some friends. Rick Allen of the mighty Def Leppard and singer and songwriter Lauren Monroe, who also just happens to be Rick's wife. Welcome to the program.
It's great to be here.
Thank you so much.
We have you on ahead of a really exciting event benefit that you guys are doing here in New York next week, which will be way more fun if you describe it than if I describe it. So tell us about the show that you've put together.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the front end, and Rick can tell you about all the amazing artists that are coming. But we've joined forces with the Cutting Room and with Friends of Firefighters. Our foundation, Raven Drum Foundation, serves and empowers and educates around the world of trauma through rhythm and alternative medicine techniques. And we found Friends of Firefighters. They're located in Brooklyn, and their call to action was after 9/11. They saw the need the firefighters had to recover mentally and emotionally. So they found a retired firehouse and they renovated it, and it became a center for healing and community. They have regular meetings there. And just last year alone, they provided 4,500 counseling sessions for free for firefighters. So the need has really grown because now it's becoming a little more mainstream, although it's not natural for any first responder or veteran to speak openly about their pain. It's becoming easier now for them to accept this kind of help. So we're partnering with them, and we're fundraising to help our first responders on the East Coast in New York with this amazing event at the Cutting Room. So I get to play, and we have, I can't even begin to list the legendary people that are coming.
It'll be pretty amazing. Simon Kirk has always, I've always looked up to him. He graciously said yes to coming. Corky Lane, if anybody has heard of Mountain.
Sure.
I mean, just help me with the list. The list is just, Paul Schaefer's going to be there.
Peter Criss is playing. So is
Dwayne Trucks is going to be there. I just got off the phone with Dwayne.
Widespread Panic. We have Amy Helms joining us, and
I'll be there.
You'll be there.
You'll be there.
No.
But Jim Keltner is going to be there. And in the music world, everyone just adores Jim, and he's going to be there playing. And there's going to be a big jam night, as well as a lot of education and support for firefighters.
So first of all, I want to come back to putting the music together, but tell me how you found this organization. Tell me what you've been doing in general with the Raven Drum, with the foundation, and then how you connected with this firefighters group. You guys are across the country in California. It's not like Brooklyn organizations just knocking on your doors. How did that fall into place?
Well, in the shows that I do around the country, I like to find a non-for-profit or an organization that serves that we can collaborate with Raven Drum. It's not rare to have other organizations on the other side of the country be familiar with us. And I'm not sure how this relationship started. Either they reached out to us or we reached out to them, but there was an automatic synergy because they provide alternative healing and they know the challenges of first responders and how to give them a space and an outlet to be able to voice their inner, suffering like this. So we're so excited to be a part of this. Dee Schneider is also on their board. Steve Buscemi is on their board. And so is Corey from Slipknot.
Corey Taylor.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of synergy in bringing musicians together to look at this issue of trauma and to extend support to our first responders who really need the support.
Plus, it's a bit of an inside job because she's from the East Coast.
I'm from Queens. Yeah, so I'm partial to helping.
Efforts in the city, yes. So, Rick, it's an outrageous list of drummers who are going to be together for that night, as you said, Peter Criss and Simon Kirk and you and, all of these guys. Certainly, I've heard musicians talk about this sort of brotherhood of drummers as a thing. Is that a real phenomenon to you? Is there a real sense of kinship, drummer to drummer, that happens, especially when you put out a call to action like this?
Absolutely. And I learned that really during COVID, when Lauren came up with this idea for Big Love benefit concerts, which incidentally is what this is. The Big Love benefit is part of this. When I reached out to drummers or musicians in general, they just said yes. In particular, drummers. Yeah, Matt Sorum, he really helped me because I didn't necessarily have the confidence to just pick up the phone and ask. But he does, he has no fear whatsoever and he knows everybody. So he was great. He really helped pull some people together that probably I wouldn't have reached out to.
And Billy Amendola.
Yeah.
Billy is, everyone knows him from Modern Drummer and from the Drum Channel. And he really has such a great friendship and connection with so many drummers that there's people that, Rick wanted to meet and didn't know that he put in touch with us. And I think the big thing what we did was create 12 drummers drumming out of our organization to rally all these drummers. And that's when I think we saw the kinship of this support. And, legendary drummers have been through it. Life is not easy. Even if you're a celebrity drummer, you have to, the ebbs and flows of the music business, and there's addiction, and there's, a lot of issues and trauma that they got to talk about and share, and then it helped them really want to advocate the mission even further.
Yeah, and when we sat down together and played together, particularly in a drum circle setting, it was very moving. And we all realized that we all had trauma in some way, shape, or form. And I think that was the thing that really brought us together. And, it's fantastic to be able to pick up the phone or text and just know that, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. And there are people, other drummers, other musicians that really do care about this stuff.
So it really is true that drummers work out all their shit just by banging on stuff. It really is the way it goes.
It's a little more complex than that. Right?
Yes.
There's a mind-body sort of component. There's something very ancient in the form of drumming. And I think that's something that we tap into really well. And particularly the way that Lauren leads the drum circles, it really does create a sacred space, a safe space for people to be able to share.
Tell us which night and where and how folks can find tickets.
That's March 14th at the Cutting Room. And you can find tickets at the Cutting Room website or go to ravendrumfoundation.org. There'll be a link there too. And yeah, you need to come. It's going to be an unbelievable night. It's very rare to get all these people together in one room like this.
I'll make you do that again before we're done. Quickly, while you're here, I got to check in on projects from both of you guys. Rick, I know Leppard just announced this 40th anniversary Pyromania project. Is that a thing you've been involved in, and what can folks look for on that package? And B, what do you think about the phrase 40th anniversary of Pyromania?
Oh, man. Yeah. Starting to feel my age. But I mean, Pyromania speaks for itself. I think that was really the record that really catapulted Def Leppard into a different league. I think it's fantastic that we're celebrating that. I'll let people discover the 40th anniversary version for themselves. Needless to say, we'll probably feature that quite heavily on the next tour. So I'm really excited about that.
And yeah, tell me, you guys are soon cranking up to get back out into headlining stadiums again. The stadium touring continues. Can you believe that that's become an institution for Def Leppard at this point? Like, it's not even news. Oh, they're going out and playing more stadiums. That's just what those guys do at this point.
I'm not sure whether that's because we're on the endangered species list, but no, Def Leppard music lends itself very well to that setting. And it's been a while since we've been out with Journey, but we were out with the Motley Crue on and off for like 18 months. And that was incredibly successful. So it'll be nice to, get out there again.
At this point, what is rehearsing for putting that show together like this many years in? And again, after this many rounds at this scale, do you, start from zero and build it up again each time? Is it a heavy workout getting ready to get back out?
It's always a heavy workout because you're always trying to innovate. You're trying to come up with something that's fresh, something that's new. So, there are production elements involved. But I think above all, it really hinges on the quality of the music and the fact that this band put a lot of work into the music and making sure it sounds as good as it possibly can. And of course, it's nice to put on a show that's a spectacle that, people remember for years to come.
That's what you're known for, certainly by this point, and certainly from these last few rounds of what the touring has been. Lauren, on your side, is there new? Obviously, you've been putting time into putting this event together, but you have new stuff coming? Do you have new dates coming up? What are your plans?
I do. I have small shows that are scheduled for around the country. I haven't announced all of them yet, but we'll be in Boston the night before the New York show and at the Boston City Winery. And I'm doing a lot of work. I'm in the studio, and so I'll have another album coming out. But I'm doing a lot of work bringing together very interesting people scientists and people involved in consciousness and alternative healing together to be a part of my performances, to show firsthand almost a submersive experience with music and storytelling and science, to show people another way that they could heal outside the mainstream. And it's going to be very, very powerful. I have my first show May 4th with Dr. Bruce Lipton, very powerful speaker, cellular biologist, and author, a legendary guy. He's like my rock star, and we'll be doing something together in Santa Cruz. So that's the future of me.
And is that work? I mean, are you integrating the music and the science healing talk together, or how are you merging those sides?
Well, he'll be speaking about, his lay of the land, which is very powerful, about mind mastery, how the mind affects the body. And then through the music and my storytelling, it'll be just adding on to that experiential piece of how we can use our minds to really affect our body. I mean, our thoughts are so powerful. And then you pair a thought with an intention. That's what music is. And you add sound and frequency. We really could change and move a lot of things about our physiology and about our mindset through those things. But most people don't know how to do it. So it's a real hands-on experiential thing to get the information and then experience it, which that's what I do. I use energy psychology and help people access and give them information. Like, our heart has 40,000 neurons. It speaks to our brain all the time. It has the most impact on our brain is our heart. A negative thought sends out 1,300 chemicals. One thought, a negative thought, sends all these kind of chemicals in our body, where a positive one sends out 1,400. And we can override so many things by just managing our thoughts. And so that's what my shows are about, is teaching people how to do this. And it's fun and has music, and we just build community by educating people. So that's the future. It's exciting.
Rick Allen, Lauren Monroe. Next week, we'll be joined by Peter Criss and Jim Keltner and Liberty DeVito, I think, yes. And drummers and more drummers at this benefit at the Cutting Room. Again, one more time, date, time, and where to get tickets?
Get tickets at the Cutting Room website, and also it's March 14th. And there's VIP tickets if you want to meet the artists. But just go to the Cutting Room or ravendrumfoundation.org.
All for a fantastic cause. Thank you to Rick Allen and Lauren Monroe. And they gave you the information for finding tickets or making donations to this benefit event that they've got going. And that is our show for today. Thanks also to David Browne from Rolling Stone for joining us. And thanks to our audience members for being with us for the Sound Up, Sound Off show. When we come back next week, Mark Goodman will be back from the 80s cruise and will be filling us in on the hijinks that ensued.
I mean, just from the photos I'm seeing, it looks, on one hand, it looks really fun. On the other hand, it looks absolutely terrifying to be on any of those rock cruise. As a big Kiss fan, cruises. Everyone kept asking me, you going on the Kiss cruise? I'm like, no, that's a whole different level, and I'll go see them live 1,000 times. I'll go to events, but you're kind of trapped on these things. That's
not your fantasy show.
That's not the one. None of my fantasy shows happen on a boat. I'll tell you that.
Happen at sea.
They do not. Right. Do any of yours?
No, I cannot think of that as the ideal scenario, but we will hear all about it. In the meantime, you can head on over to sounduppod.com to find out how you can be part of our live Sound Up, Sound Off podcast taping. You can email us at connect@sounduppod.com. Send us written emails, send us voicemails that we can play. However you want to communicate, we need to hear from you. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you listen to Sound Up on, and we will catch you next time on Sound Up.
Sound Up is hosted by Mark Goodman and Alan Light, produced by Roger Coletti, and distributed by Revolver Podcasts. Theme music by Smile from Tokyo. Get Sound Up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, email us at connect@sounduppod.com. We'll see you next time right here on Sound Up with Mark Goodman and Alan Light.